Hey, what's going on there? This is Live at Lunch a little earlier today with Rev Bruce. So we're still talking about journeying through the valley. Still talking about journeying through the valley. And part of what we're talking about today is maintaining your hope. Maintaining your hope. Um, Remember, this is about the low points in your life. And so if we're talking about the low points in your life going through the valley, then you also got to be mindful that um, some of the biggest things and the highest things that we can look towards are the things that we hope for, the things that we put our hope in. And if we're not careful, we can misplace our hope, but we want to make sure that we maintain our hope in Him, in the Lord. And that goes back to our main verse and part of it where it says, "For you are with me," talking about the presence of God. And the presence of God should give us hope that God will act and He will make moves and He will intervene. That the presence of God is a reminder for us that He's not unaware of our situation, but that not only is He aware of our situation, but He's actively and attentively addressing our situation. That's what our hope is. That's where we place our hope, and we place our hope in Him because we know if we do it and try to do it ourselves, we're unable to do it. And He's almighty. He's omnipotent. He's all powerful. And so since He has that type of power, He has that type of ability, we need to rest our hope in Him and not in ourselves. Part of what we need to think about is we're in a valley, right? And we know we're in the valley, but what do we know about really what God is doing? Like I said, our hope is that He's actively and attentively addressing our issue. But how do you know that? How do you know that? And so you may not need to know that, right? Dealing with God is on a need to know basis. You may not need to know what God is up to. You may not need to know what God's plan is. You know, um, I think we might be thinking about ourselves too much when we think that we need to be in on it when God is dealing with us on a need to know basis. Remember when we talk about Abraham being a friend of God, before that, Abraham was faithful to God. And Abraham faithfully followed God because while he was still Abram, he went out, left his father's house to a place that God still had to show him. He didn't know where he was going. He didn't have an itinerary of what his destination was, but he knew God was leading and guiding him. And so he trusted God with faith, and therefore they developed this relationship to the point where Abraham became his new name and he became a friend of God. What more do you need to know than God is working on? It's on a need to know basis. What more do you need to know that God has it handled? It's on a need to know basis. What more do you need to know other than place your trust, faith, and hope in God? And then from there, all you have to do is look at His track record. All you have to do is look at His track record with you. And if it hasn't been with you, check out His track record with Big Mama. Check out His track record with, me, Mom. Check out your track record with your daddy. Check out His track record with your sister or your brother, whoever it may be, who's had real faith in God along the way. Check out God's track record with them if you don't have enough of a relationship with Him yourself. That's what you need to do. You need to check that out. You need to find out and see if you're going to have hope in God, right, let your hope and trust be in Him because of who He is and what He's done in your life or in the life of those around you. Let Him be able to address your needs, supply your needs, but also God's been doing this longer than you've been around. And so put your hope in Him, put your faith and your trust in Him. He's got it, but it's on a need to know basis. You don't need to know everything. And we need to get settled with that and trust that God can go ahead and help us in dealing with that. So you don't need to know everything. But I like this what Isaiah says. And Isaiah says it in chapter 8, which is you know, right around that time where we get Isaiah and his calling, which is chapter 6. But this is Isaiah and his realization after his calling about what's really going on with the house of Jacob. Right? Chapter 1, God is putting them on blast. And he continues in chapter 2 to call them, all kinds of harlots and stuff like that. And then later in chapter 6, Isaiah says, hey, I saw the Lord high and lifted up. But here in chapter 8, Isaiah gets into something that really tells us that his prophecy is more messianic than convicting and correcting of Israel. It's more pointing to the future as it is in damning them for what they've done or haven't done in the name of God. And Isaiah says it, chapter 8, it's here on the screen, verse 17. I'm going to read the New King James Version. This says, and I will wait on the Lord, who hides his face from the house of Jacob, and I will hope in him. I will wait on the Lord, who hides his face from the house of Jacob, and I will hope in him. Well, Isaiah says he's going to wait on the Lord, right? And understand that in his waiting, he is waiting with expectation. Part of what this is pointing to is the consolation of Israel, consoling them, bringing them into a redeemed form of peace with God, right? Israel was under somebody's control or under attack or under siege continually after this point. And so what God is doing in the background and in the foreground with Israel is saying, hey, look, I don't want to deal with y'all like I've been dealing with you guys because you guys haven't been faithful. And now, because of your infidelity, we'll leave it at that, because of your infidelity, you've got to go into captivity. And so here we are with Isaiah presenting these things, knowing that they need to go into captivity, but also Isaiah being able to say, you know what, I'm going to wait on the Lord. I'm going to wait on how he delivered. Even though right now he's hiding his face from the house of Jacob, even though he's not interacting with us like he once did, even though he's not in the same relationship and we don't have the same fellowship that we once had, I'll wait on him. And I'm going to put my hope in him. Right? Isaiah's putting his hope in the one who can handle it. Isn't that what we should do? Put your hope in the one who can handle it. When we're in the valley, when we're in this low point, and ups and downs, peaks and valleys. When we're in the valley, where are we placing our hope? You know, the light at the end of the tunnel, per se, may not be visible. It's called the valley of the shadow of death. There's some darkness there. It's called the valley of the shadow of death. It's not necessarily in the midst of the bright sunlight. When we're in the valley, where are we placing our hope? In whom are we placing our hope? And if we still have our hope, despite what's going on around us, how do we keep holding on? How do we maintain that? And so let this be a refresher. Let this be a booster for you. Keep holding on with hope. Keep holding on with hope. Right? And when you're in the valley, God's presence, right? God's presence is a reminder to you, right? And a major factor to you to hold on with hope. God's presence. God is saying, you know, trust in me. And you're looking at God and saying, you know, look, I'm going through this valley of the shadow of death, but I know you are with me. I know you're with me. And so since I know you're with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me because you keep guiding me and giving me directions and pointing me in the right way and not letting me stop. Right? Because if you stop too long, you're going to get stuck. If you stop too long, you're going to stay. If you stop too long, you're not going to make any progress. Right? You pick up a job, you say you're going to be there for a minute, and then you're going to move on, and then you find yourself there 10, 15 years. You got stuck. Right? You're doing some things, and you say, well, I'm only going to be involved with it for a little while, and now you're stuck. You know, people are dealing with all sorts of stuff in life, and here you go. You think you can handle it better than anyone else because, hey, you've got it like that, and now you look up and you are stuck. Don't fool yourself. Put your hope in the one who can handle it and recognize that he's present. And like I said, he is aware and attentive and actively engaged in rectifying the situation. You may not see what's happening in the background, but God is busy. God is still at work. God's not asleep, right? It's like when you go to a play, you don't know what's happening behind the curtain. You only see what's happening on stage. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes to make it all happen, but you see it as it appears on stage, and you're mesmerized, you're amazed, and you're like, oh, this is great. But you don't know what's going on, who's holding the ropes and moving the curtains, and who's doing all these different things behind the scenes. Understand that. God might not be showing his face, right? God might not be showing his face right now. God might be hiding his face. You might not be in fellowship like you once were. You might not be as close as you once were to God, right? But in the midst of rectifying your situation, God may also be working on restoring your relationship. Readying you for restoration and reconciliation. He may be readying you for that as he's rectifying this other stuff that's going on with you that's got you preoccupied and seems to be a stumbling block for you right now. Consider it that way. That you need to put your hope in, Lord, if you can't fix the situation, fix my attitude about it. Lord, I know you can, but if you won't, right? If this isn't on your agenda, right? If you're not working on this, Lord, then please work on me. Right? That's what I'm asking for. Right? If we can't get it this way, Lord, I need you. Listen, I need God's deliverance when I'm in those low points. I need God to swoop in and get me and take me out of that. Right? I need the miracle. I need the good works. I need all that. Right? Wrapped up, the blessing. I need all that wrapped up, and boom, hit me over the head with it and drag me out of there. Right? Get me out of this low point. But I know that there's some good being made out of what I'm going through. You might not have heard it that way. There's some good being made out of whatever it is that we're going through. And if anyone can make good on it, it's God. And if anyone should have enough latitude, right? Give him room. Enough latitude to work it out, it's God. And so I'm going to put my hope in God, right? Lamentations, weeping prophet. Jeremiah, he's dealing with all this stuff going on around him. The thing is falling apart. The very thing he said was going to happen is happening, and things are being torn to shreds. The people are being dragged out, and Jeremiah says, "The Lord is my portion." Come on, you heard it. The Lord is my portion. Therefore, in Him I hope. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore, in Him I hope. It's not by happenstance. You know that he was seeing all that. He had prophesied it. It wasn't by chance that they just happened to drag the folks by his doorway and down his street. He had prophesied it. God had talked to him about it. So don't worry about what's on their faces. I got that covered. I got you covered. They're going to be ashamed of themselves by the time we get done. The Lord is my portion. In Him I hope. It's in Him I hope. I'm not tripping off of everything else that's going on around me. I'm turning back to God. If anything else, this day and age, ought to have more of us turning back to God. I don't know what it is, but this day and age and the way that tensions rise and things are going awry, people ought to be turning back to God. It just seems that way. But God help us. We know what we know. We do what we do, and God bless. And I'll wait on the Lord, who hides His face from the house of Jacob, and I will hope in Him. I will hope in Him. I'm not going to put my hope in the government's going to come to the rescue. I'm not going to put my hope in, well, the choir director said he's going to stop by. I'm not going to put my hope in and say, well, the deacon said he was going to call me. I'm not going to put my hope in, well, the pastor said he was praying for me. I'm not going to put my hope in all that. I'm willing to accept all that and what comes with that, but where I'm putting my hope is in Him. The pastor might not pray for me like he said he would. I might have fell off his list or whatever might have happened, but I know God has somebody who He's touched to pray for me. That's how it works. The choir director may not stop by, like I was told, and check in on me and see how I'm doing, but I know God will send somebody to help me out, to supply my needs, even if I have to be like the runaway prophet and be tended to by the ravens. You know what I'm saying? And drink from the running water of the brook. I know God will give me what I need, and so my hope is in Him. But what I need, especially when I need deliverance. When I need deliverance, I need to count on God for that. I need to count on God for that. Right? I need to say this time in the valley, I might be at a low point, but Lord, lift me up. This time where I'm dealing with what I'm dealing with, and I may be down, I may be, borderline depressed, but Lord, lift me up. And if you can't lift me out of this thing, lift my spirits so that I can maintain my hope while I'm still in here, Lord. I need it. Because who knows? Aren't we one tragedy away from losing it all and just giving up? Aren't we just one letdown away from losing it and not being able to say, I feel like I can go on? Lift me up or lift my spirits up. But Lord, I need you. I need you. I need you. I need your divine deliverance. Because when I'm down, I'm down. And where I'm down, I don't see my way out. And so when you look at this song, go back to the presence of God and the hope that should give us. Go back to the presence of God and what that should say to us. We're not alone. We were never forsaken. He never abandoned us. He never left us alone. Trust and believe God's been present the whole time. He's aware. He's attentive. And he's actively engaged in addressing your situation. Tell you like they said, like they told me when I was younger, he may not come when you want it. But he sure come right on time. He's an on-time guy. And you better learn to believe it. Because if you don't know now, you're going to find out soon. If you don't know from previous experience, you're going to find out with what you're going through either now or in the future. You can call on him, but his answer may not come when you want. Because remember, we're still dealing with the will of God, which is a bigger plan than what we have. We need to stop trying to get God to fit into our plans and see where we fit into God's plans. That's the issue. We're trying to squeeze an limitless God into our minuscule plans when He's got a bigger plan that encompasses the entire world and not just us in it. And we think, well, God must have forgot about me. What happens when you go shopping and you even got a list, and the list is available on your iPhone or your Google Docs, and you're up there going through your list, checking it off, and then you got to nerve to get to the car and say, I forgot to get eggs. I didn't get that butter. Oh, I was supposed to get, right? Even with a list, we forget. So if God has all these different things going on, you don't think he's going to get to you? You don't have enough hope knowing that he's got the whole world in his hands. You don't have enough hope knowing that he's dealing with more than just what you're going through right now. You don't have enough hope to know that God can fix it. And that as soon as it fits, he can make that thing fixed. Right? It says in the fullness of time, when everything had come together and culminated and arrived at the point of reveal, in the fullness of time, God sent forth his son. What happened right before that? God didn't even talk to him for hundreds of years. What happened right before that? God did not talk to them for hundreds of years. But in the fullness of time, God sent forth his son. But before that, he wasn't speaking to Israel. He wasn't sharing a word with Israel. But in the fullness of time, God sent forth his son. When it fits, he'll fix it. But if it doesn't fit right now, you've got to maintain your hope in him, despite what you're going through, despite what you're surrounded by, despite who's on your back and on your neck. But when it fits, he's going to fix it. When it fits into his will, that's when he's going to fix it. And we've got to get comfy with that. We've got to get real comfortable with that being the truth. And how do we get comfortable with that? For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. I didn't say poke me and hit me and drag me, but your rod and your staff, they comfort me. I know that you're with me because I've got your presence right here. Your reminders of your presence are here, and they comfort me. Listen, I don't know what you're going through. I don't know how it is with you right now, but God bless you. God be with you. We're working on it, and working on it as diligently as we can. So trust and believe this is God at work. This is God at work. And so join us again next week. We'll be back on our regular time, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you for joining us. This has been great. Just digging into this a little deeper and sitting here, going into this psalm. So I thank you. I bless you. I love you. Thank you for joining us on Twitch. Thank you for joining us out there on Facebook, as well as those that will be joining us on YouTube. God bless. God be with you. Peace.